Thursday. Today is Thursday, isn't it? But I need to say Friday.
Yeah, I was about to say. It's like, wait, it's called Friday Focus.
Yes, I'm going to start on. Happy Friday, everybody. Today is a great day. It's the 3rd of May. Thank you, Shanita. I am Kate Thompson, a principal broker with Best Real Estate Company, and this is your Friday Focus. Today, we're going to talk about something that I think everybody needs to have some idea about. If you're a real estate agent, a real estate broker, been in real estate, helping clients, serving customers, you kind of need to know as much as possible about this particular topic. And it's also a great way for you to build wealth for your family and your posterity, and to be able to kind of design the lifestyle that you want. Nothing about real estate is easy. Let me say that. I don't want anybody to think that in these next 30 minutes, you're going to get some rich quick scheme. That is not what we do here. But what I do have is two people whose opinions I value very deeply, Shanita and Walter Jones.
Thank you.
I very much value their opinions, and I have to say Walter has been since he's been with us here at Best, very diligent in sharing with me what his challenges have been, what his goals are, and then coming and talking to me about things that he has done in his career, and sharing whether they have been successful or not. He has a very unique story. And he has some very unique things going on right now. So I have asked him to kind of share some of those things with us in an effort to give you guys just a little bit more hope that, you can win at the game of real estate. You just have to be a little bit creative, get a little bit inventive, have a little bit of guts, and know what you're doing, or know somebody who can help you to stay on the right path. And so, Walter, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about your journey? How did you become a real estate investor, and then ultimately an agent with us here at Best, and kind of what you have working right now?
You said a minute ago about something about knowing what you're doing. I mean, that comes along with a lot of mistakes along the way, and I'm not there yet. So I had my license once before in Alabama, right as the Great Recession is 2007, 8, and 9, and I was in the process of a bankruptcy, and had some restaurants that I had franchised, and it wasn't going well, and it ended up going Chapter 7 full bankruptcy, and then I was in the restaurant business, and things weren't. I did okay as an agent then. Worked with a few investors. Was kind of my first. I always had an interest in investing, but really I was not in a position at the time. Ended up taking another W-2 job, moved to Arkansas, moved around, and then came back to Memphis, 2016. So I came back to Memphis, 6 years ago, or 7 years ago, 15. And, but I kept in touch, kept in tune with the real estate business, had some W-2 jobs. I ended up had a pretty good corporate job that ended up moving back to Memphis. And in 2018, 6 years ago in January, I bought a fourplex. Richard Scarborough, who I'd known him through the Memphis Investor Group, helped me get the fourplex. And I lived in one of the units, bought it with an FHA loan, 3.5% down, had a decent job. And at that time I lived below my means, so I didn't have a lot of debt. I think I had a car note at the time, but no other credit card. Really took care of living below my means and making pretty good money. And so later that same year, I found another, it was listed as a duplex, but it was actually a house with a guest house. And since I only put 3.5% down, had a little bit of cash at the time, bought my second property the same year. And then the following year, 2019, I bought another duplex. 2020, I bought the house that I live in now, and the rent that I was charging from the unit that I had been living in was about $50 more than my mortgage on my new house. Right. So really, it was really kind of work. And so this was in 2020.
Right.
I mean, less than a month after I bought and closed this house is when the bottom of March 13th, I think, is when that Friday the 13th is when the bottom fell out, and I was on a plane. I was in
I
an
think I
airport
kind
waiting
of
to get on the
remember that.
plane, and it's like, oh my gosh, when we get home. But anyway, so a couple months later, I was a casualty
Yeah.
of my job was a casualty of COVID, and so I spent that summer trying to figure out what I was going to do. I had some interest in wholesaling, investigated some of that. Uh, Actually, I acquired a property and then kept it and flipped it, but I knew that wasn't for me really. Just didn't like lowballing a bunch of people and competing with a lot of people. So I got my license and towards the end of 2020, and just started working leads. The way I was procuring my leads, I was giving up a really big big chunks of commission. What I was doing, but it gave me a lot of practice. I was writing offers. I was like, and I pretended I didn't know what I was doing. I was able along the way, but I had a lot of practice, and mostly investors. And then I was also involved in a Facebook group, a guy that I had listened to a lot on podcasts, and I enrolled in his program. And I was doing a lot of off-market marketing, uh, and so I was able to pick up a few properties along the way. I have 19 doors now, so I have the fourplex is my still initial property, and then 6 duplexes and 3 houses, and so it's worked out pretty well so far. So
Thank you so much for that. I have several things that I want to say that I want to point out that you mentioned in your story. Number one, you got the help of a colleague,
Yep.
Financial help. A lot of people don't even think about private money or private investment or hard money, for example, when they're looking at their options to invest. And you have been able to utilize both of those and make that a positive, create a positive outcome for yourself. The other thing that I can say that I saw myself is that Walter was coming into our office when we were at 6423 down the road. He would come in on a consistent basis, and he would definitely be doing some off market marketing. Made a deal with Tennille and said, hey, I know I'm printing up all your paper, but I need to print this paper. I mean, he didn't say it like that, but that's kind of the gist of it. He worked out a deal with our office to be able to utilize the services that we had until he was able to do something different to push his business. This is at a time where he was saying to me, all of these things happened to me in my life that have been detrimental, and I am working myself back. So I can say out of almost every agent here, I am the most proudest of him because he started with literally nothing but some letters.
it's funny that you say that too, because I'm involved in Memphis Investor Group and some other investors, and I look at them and I think, oh man, I feel like I'm 2 inches high and they're giants, and I'd kill to be where I am right now 10 years ago.
Right.
And so yeah, it's just one thing at a time. The last one that I bought 12% financing. The loan was more than what I paid for the property, so I got cash back at close, and then so I'm in the process of renovating it, and I'm stressing. I got to get a tenant in there. I got to start collecting some rent,
and
but it'll be a good property.
Yes, and that's always your thing. Like, he's always like, I want to do good by the person and invested in me. That's what I hear. Not he's stressing because he doesn't think he can get it done. He wants to honor the agreement that he made with his partner, so that the partner is reaping a benefit as well. And I think sometimes we miss that part. That we need to be doing that in order to keep these relationships going. And so Richard, I have a lot of respect for too. And I have told other people that Richard, if you have the right deal and the right circumstances, he would help you. And so I've sent a person to him that I don't know how it worked out, but that person, I don't think they had the understanding and education about the property that they needed to be able to give solid numbers to Richard. And the person was just like, oh, he just won't help me. And I'm like, well, I know Richard. I know him. And it's not that he just won't help you. It's just that you haven't done your homework. So that's one of the things as an investor you have to do, right?
Yes. To clarify, Richard was my agent for my first two properties. So
Right.
he represented me as my agent, and certainly he's been a great resource.
Right. Richard is a great resource.
He's forgotten more than I'll ever learn.
Right. What he still remembers is more than what most people.
And then the other thing, back to the letters, is you do have to spend money on your business. Those letters cost me because of the way I did them. I had somebody hand address them, hand sign my name, put a real stamp on it, and they cost me about $1.10 a piece, $1.20 somewhere in there. And I sent 8,000 letters out that year that I was doing.
He was not joking.
And
it was a whole situation.
I tracked them, and I sent, and it was specific. I was looking for.
Now, how long did that take you? Because one of the things before you were able to get your first opportunity from that, because I think sometimes agents, we do stuff for a couple of weeks, we'll pay for it for 1 month, we don't get anything, and then we're like, that didn't work. So how long did it take you?
It was probably 4,000 to 5,000 letters before I had. Now, I had some conversations on the way before I had a conversation that 5 months later, because of the relationship we had developed, turned into an acquisition. And then I ended up, and he had 2 other duplexes. And as soon as we closed the one that I got from him, I sent him a couple steaks mail order because I knew he liked steaks. And he called me after we got him. He said, "You really want those other 2 properties?" I said, "Yes, sir, I do." Right. And so 5 months, 6 months later, which was last year, I bought the other 2 from him. And
exactly.
So really, out of the 8,000 letters, I got really 2 or 3 good calls. But one of the calls was 4 properties. So
so it paid for itself. And it's still paying you because those properties they're income producing now. So there is that investment that you made on the front end, even though it seems big to us, when you look at it from the backside, it was minuscule compared to what the initial investment is. And I think, you also have to have a belief in yourself and your systems, what you set up. If you're going to spend money in marketing, don't not call the people.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're going to spend your money sending out yellow letters or whatever it is you're doing, postcards, I don't care. You need to have some mechanism for tracking what you do. So that was the other thing that I wanted to say that was a part of your story, is that I believe that track numbers grow. If you don't know what you're putting out versus what you're getting back, it could, you could earn a commission, but what is the value in it?
Right.
Like, how much value did it really bring you if you have lost everything else?
Yeah. And I tell investors, as you're talking about, buying properties and cash flow, it's okay to pay full price for a property if, and you may only get a couple $100 a month in cash flow at the end. Of course, you're going to have to fix stuff, and it may not even, it's not really even a net cash flow, but something, that mortgage stays the same and rents go up. And so over time, and you're building wealth, someone's paying down your debt.
Yeah, and it'll be
there's a lot of accounting principles as far as depreciating a property. And, I spent $1,000 a month on Zillow for a while.
Now, let me ask you this. This is my all-time favorite question for people who go to Zillow, because I've been there, done that. Do you still need Zillow?
No, but it was a good, I was in 3111, which is a very, very, you got your, you got your $60,000 properties and your $2 million. So it's a pretty wide range of calls that you're going to get. And you need to be, sometimes you have to hold somebody's hand and tell them how to get pre-qualified and show them a couple of houses and get them excited. And
do that. I always say that if you can wean yourself off of Zillow, that's growth.
Right.
If you are in real estate 30 years in and you still need Zillow, something is not working.
And I like that you said that you focused on one zip code.
Mm-hmm.
that's something. I joined a coaching program, and that was one of the things that a coach said. He said when he was full time real estate, he said he had 2 zip codes, and out of those 2 zip codes, he dominated because that's all he focused on, and so that's been my goal too, to focus on 2 zip codes
Yeah.
because wherever you focus it, that's, I mean, you have no choice but to be the name in that zip code when you focus. So I love that you said that.
And the other thing is he went after a zip code that has great properties in it, good opportunities, but most people, younger people who are not seasoned, that don't understand our market and the dynamics of it, they would not pick that zip code because it's older homes, it's this, it's that. And that is another thing that we need to get away from. Tell us where my favorite Airbnb that you have is.
Yeah.
Where is it?
In Whitehaven, right behind Graceland.
Yep.
So
it's a beautiful property. It is so versatile. I know I have had a lot of fun in it.
Well, I'm waiting on an invite, next time. So.
Yes, we have to do a best thing there.
Yeah.
But when I was president of this organization, that's how I got wind of it, and now other organizations are using it because they just like what we were doing there. But tell us a little bit about your journey. Like, how is it different from Walters? How did you wind up being in the space for short-term rental? We have to stop saying Airbnb because that's the platform.
Right. How I got into short-term rentals, I was long-term rentals. That was my thing since 2003, 4, somewhere up in there, when I bought my first condo. So, and I was in the military. So, if you buy any real estate in the military town, you're going to always have a paycheck, right? So my mind has been focused on long-term rentals since then. But it wasn't until when I came here, in 2022, after I left, because I was working for the government. I was working for the government, and the
government downsized you. People think their government jobs are safe forever, and they downsize you.
Right. And so
it's a whole slap in the face.
So COVID too.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
She got downsized.
I hung in for a little while, and then it's like, So, but yeah, so I partnered with one of my long-term friends. We used to work together, and she actually wanted to do short-term rentals. I was all about the long-term. I was like, okay. So, she was like, well, just find us a property. So I'm like, cool, let me find a property. So, that's when it's like that property near Grace, it just fell into my lap. Like I wasn't looking. Well, I was looking, but it just came, and I was like, "This is a perfect property. It's perfect. It's one street over."
Oh my God!
From
you can walk to the end of the street and look at Grace.
It's a 5-minute walk from Grace.
Oh my God! It's perfect. I could probably run there, and I don't do no exercise.
Yeah, and so that's how I got into short term, and it's been a journey. Learning that market, because it's totally different from long term. Like you said, with the long term, that's the rent is going to be what it is. But with short term, especially in that market, it's seasonal. When it's cold, not many people are traveling, so you have to come up with alternative ways, and that's how I ended up hosting events in that space. So. You have to be flexible. You have to be creative when you're doing short-term rentals, especially depending on where they are. And I like where yours are too.
He has some really good locations where there's always something happening, and there's new attraction. And areas over there by where their Airbnb is too. There's new attractions that are coming up that will make it continue to be appealing to people who come to our city.
And that's another thing too. You have to have some kind of foresight into the market, and that's where it comes. That's why it's important, like you said, to focus on one zip code. 38116 is one of the zip codes that I focus on, because I study. When you study an area, you have the foresight to see what's going on, and you can be able to predict, okay, I know right now it looks bad. It doesn't look like.
And that's kind of what you did.
Yep.
That's exactly what you did. You're like, I know this is coming here. The latest one that he got, he was just like, oh, it's right behind the concourse. Do you know what that is? And I'm like, yes, I know what it is. But so when you said that to me, because there's a tea room over there that one of our agents had part ownership in. And so I was like, well, she's doing this tea room and he has this Airbnb. Let me just go and check the landscape out for myself. And it's different from what I remember just a few years ago. That area is there's changes, it's visible. And I think that with all the stuff that they have coming to like downtown and the changes that they're making over there, he'll make a really good profit from that. Now, how do you guys determine which properties are going to be short-term versus long-term rentals for you? What is your process if you have one?
So determining short term is obviously location, and like I said, the property that's near Graceland, it was obvious what to do with that, because if we turned that into a long term rental, we would not generate the same income to for that property for it to make sense, for the numbers to make sense. So definitely location, definitely knowing what's going on in the area. And then with long term, again, knowing the market, knowing what's going on, and the numbers got to make sense. And if you can, um, we know that rental rates increase every year, and the property that you choose, you have to make certain that that property the rental rate can appreciate with inflation every year, because the national rates are going to go up. Everything else is going to go up, but you have to make sure that that property can sustain it. Because depending on the area, sometimes you can't raise the rent just based on the demographics. So just knowing your numbers.
I think for me, for my first one was a midterm rental, and it was doing very well, and then I had 3 tenants vacate. So I converted 3 more last year, and there's still 3 of them are midterm rentals, and I have one as a short-term rental. And I accumulated some debt that I'll have that paid off this year, and so I'm really not looking for. I'm not looking for new short-term or mid-term rentals, but I am. I've got some things that I want to do with the ones that I have, and then I wanted to say this too, as far as just I cash flow pretty good on my rents, but I try to keep that separate from my real estate license income, because I've got a couple of AC condensers that I need to replace this summer that I know they're going to struggle based on, and just some different things. I'll put a new roof on this year, and some of those things, and I try to keep that separate. And then I need a certain amount as an agent,
right? Because it's actually 2 separate businesses. If you really want to be honest about it, I don't think they should be commingled. I think that is what confuses people. Monies get mixed up that shouldn't get mixed up,
and you can't track.
Right, you can't properly track what's going on. I think that's a very smart move to do that. And then now, in terms of financing, so I've known Shanita for forever and a day, so I'm sure she told me some story about her lack of finance somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
But yours is much more clearer because of the specific things that happened during COVID to you. That you were using a lot of your savings and things like that to make these decisions, and so I just want to know, what was your thought process like? What made you decide I'm going to take this leap, even though I'm not sure it's going to turn out? What made you decide to invest your savings that most people would think, I don't have a job, so I need to live on this? You made a totally different decision that 9 out of, well, let me just, what is it? 97, 3%. 97% of other people would have taken the easy road. You took the road less traveled.
Well, to some degree, some of it was forced on me with the job loss. I thought that I was going to be able to just apply for some jobs and get one right away. And it was a soft landing, because because of the the rental income that I had. And so it was just like, okay, I'm doing this. I enjoy it. I knew that I could work with investors because I could speak that language with them. And then the two that I got last year were DSCR loans, which stands for debt service coverage ratio. And my interest was 9.1% on one, 9.75 on the other one. I cash flow a little bit. I'll be able to refinance it at some point, but that's there's a benefit to having a W-2 job and provable income with a salary and debt to income ratio and all that. But you just have to work with what's out there.
Now, here's one thing we say in NAREB that I don't hear in many other circles, but you can appreciate it as I say it right now. We usually say what? Marry the house, date the rate. You go on a date with the rate, and then you try to beat her up at every opportunity. And so I'm just pointing that out because you're talking to us in this conversation about the interest rates that you were paying in order to borrow this money. And I just want people to see, like, for those people that are waiting on 4 and 5%, I know I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. That was an anomaly. That probably will never happen again as long as either one of us are alive. So you need to figure out ways around the rate. And when you're dealing with hard money, give us a quick definition of what hard money is.
It's hard.
Right.
It's expensive. But I did, in this, really, I don't have the options that a lot of people do because I don't have a lot of W-2 income and want to keep that as low as I can for tax purposes.
Right.
And, but the duplex that I just acquired, I borrowed more than I paid for it. And it's at 12%. And so, but there's still, and I'm into my own money now. I got some money back at close. I thought I was going to be within that range, and I'm ended up like you can always be over budget. And so, but I'll still cash flow at 12% and interest only. And so at some point, but I have the property. It's in my portfolio. I'm depreciating it. It's part of my balance sheet now. And I do hope to refinance it, but.
And that's the hard money is hard. Basically, they're saying, hey, we're going to give you this money. We're going to trust that you're going to do what you said you were going to do with it. Hopefully you will, because in 6 months, I want my money back plus 14%. Unless, you know what I'm saying, you can pay it back, earlier, whatever. Sometimes you can get 6 months, same as cash with that. There are all sorts of ways. The point is there's all sorts of creative financing opportunities and options out there for people that real estate agents typically will have no clue about because it is just not the world that they don't have to pay as much attention because they're dealing with retail.
Well, an example of this, now I have not been able to obtain a seller finance property, but I've tried really hard. The reason why, if someone's held a property for 10 or 20 years and it's worth $100,000 more than they paid for it, they're going to have to pay capital gains when they sell that. And so why wouldn't someone like that seller financing and spread that profit out, spread those taxes out? And so again, haven't been able to do that. But if you know someone, anybody that's listening that has a rental property that they're trying to sell, that it's worth a lot more than what they paid for it, they may be happy to sell it to you, seller financing 5-6%.
And if you're doing seller financing, you can do other things like alleviate your responsibility for keeping the property up. You could put that onus on the person that's in the buying position. Hey, because they do that when you get a regular mortgage, right? Yeah. Is the bank coming to replace your roof? I think not. Like, you need to figure that out yourself. They expect it to be done though, so I think that's a good point to make too, that, seller financing is an option. At one point I was buying mortgage notes. I still own bits and pieces of a few. And to me, that was the bomb.com because I didn't even have to do anything but collect. Now, it wasn't as much of a return on investment as say like if you do a fix and flip because you're depending on people to pay their mortgage, but I mean, I own this property or I have, interest in it. Let me say that. That's a better way to describe it. I have interest in it. This person is making their mortgage payment. I'm getting a portion of it. And, if you I'm getting a portion of the payment, and I don't have to worry about if you're maintaining or whatever. And if you don't pay, we can foreclose. I mean, I was just like, why didn't somebody tell me about this when I was like in high school or something? I could have like took
Because you wouldn't have listened.
Probably not.
Right.
You're probably right. I probably would not have listened. And so, okay, so we got cut off, so we're going to come back, and I just want to spend a few more minutes asking you guys about some of the systems that you use in your investment businesses. You talked about a few things that you were using, I think, for your short-term rentals. What systems do you think, and where do you think people should start getting educated if they want to delve into the world of fixing and flipping, or even short-term rentals? Where do you think they should start to get their education? How did you start, Walter?
Memphis Investor Group,
Mm-hmm.
very robust. A lot of people love helping each other there. You're going to see title companies and lenders and people like myself. There's a scattering of agents there, insurance people, contractors. We usually have some pretty good speakers, and we have some breakouts. I actually started one of the breakouts, restarted it about a year ago. It's a multifamily meetup group. We meet at Garibaldi's once a month on a Wednesday. And the other one would be Bigger Pockets, biggerpockets.com. It's kind of like Facebook for real estate people. And I'm not as active on there right now because I've kind of been a little bit busy, but it's a great place to just learn and the different philosophies.
So I too agree with that. I have been to me. Richard graced me with the opportunity to be able to go in his stead when he was deciding if he wanted to be a, what do you call him, Nashvilleian or Memphian. And so he chose Nashville, but with good reason. And he left me here in his stead to be a part of MIG. And so I did learn a lot from people. They have very high level and good quality education over there. They have lots of things that you can do throughout the month. Things like what Walter just said. Sometimes those events are free. Is yours free?
Yep.
It's free to come to. And so really all a person needs is a little gumption and initiative to come out and meet you. I have met some very interesting people there. I have gotten deals out of the MIG experience. I met a woman who has become my repeat customer. Every time she has a property that Alexa off. I'm sorry about that. Every time that she has a property that she's fixed and flipped, she brings to me to sell. They're usually in good areas, and I'm usually able to get a good price from her. I actually got one client from there from another real estate agent, because real estate agents, whether y'all believe or want to believe it or not, they go to me. And so this agent was actually retiring her license, and she gave me an investor person who was from California. And he actually was a long-term investor and was not looking to necessarily pay less than fair market value. So he made the job really easy for me because I didn't have to go and try to figure out how to negotiate a lower price. He used the rentals and he had a whole plan, and he was like, I'm going to do this. I have this many number of properties in my portfolio. He bought 4 more from me, through me. He's like, these 4 are going to be just what I need. They're going to cash flow this amount of money, and in 10 years I'll retire, and then I'm going to do this. He still keeps in contact with me. to see if I'm still selling real estate. And he's like, I'm 5 years in, to let me know that in a few years he'll be coming back. So, to me, that's money way down the line, but it's money still the same that I have the opportunity to go back and get. And he was just very gracious. He knew exactly what he wanted. Most investors, I love that about them. They know what they want. They're not going to waste your time having you look at stuff. If it doesn't fit their little criteria of things that they're interested in, they want no parts of it. So for me, that was always a help because I struggle as a real estate agent with people who can't make decisions. I struggle with that, honestly. I don't want to show you 60 houses for you to say, I still don't know. These are the homes that are in your price range. Pick one. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
So for me to have investors, it's easier for me to work with them because they already have a game plan that they're following usually, and you can usually get on board with it really easily.
It's about the numbers.
Right. It's more about the numbers than it is about anything else. And the other thing that I would say is bigger pockets. I learned about bigger pockets before I got introduced to MIG. I can't remember what investor told me about it, but probably some investor, out of state or whatever. And I did learn a lot, and I did make a lot of great connections. And there is lead generation opportunities on bigger pockets, and I just think people should really focus on learning more about that. And I'm bringing this information to you guys because I want you to know that it's okay to work with investors. We need investors in the real estate market. We need them just as much as we need retail customers because they are the people who can do the things the average retail buyer can't. They can help us restore these communities. They have the resources, the knowledge, and all of that to do that where an average retail buyer may not have it. They have the ability to see a vision for something that the retail buyer sometimes cannot see. And so if you are able to put yourself in a place where you can work with people like that, they can help you sharpen up and develop your vision and see how you can move to be a better agent, and to build wealth for yourself. So we welcome that here. We welcome investors. As long as you're doing it openly and honestly and disclosing what you need to disclose, then I'm perfectly fine with it. That is the world that I came from. I learned how to be a real estate agent second. So you'll never hear me say investors are
evil.
You'll never hear me say that because before I was an agent, I had a personal situation. I was helping my daughter and I had to quit. My job didn't leave me, I left it. And real estate investing is what saved me.
Yeah.
And it kept me surviving. And I really didn't know enough to be a big wig like Walter is saying. You know what I'm saying? I never got to the level where I was like, I don't know, Armando Montalongo or somebody, but I learned enough just from having those powerful relationships that I could take care of my family, save some money. And then when it came time to learn how to be a real estate agent, I could do that without the pressures of how am I going to pay my bills. And so that is, what I really wanted to bring home here is that if you are in a place right now in your business where you don't really know what direction you want to take, if helping retail home buyers at this point in time is scaring you, even though I assure you really nothing is going to change. But if you feel like it is, then and you want to stay in the world of real estate, then it will behoove you to get with somebody like Walter, Shanita. I can name several people, Lisa Thomas, Tarsha Coleman, Richard Scarborough. All of these people are right here in our midst. And they have a wealth of information and experience that they would love to share with you. But they're not going to do the work for you. And they're not going to hold your hand. And I don't expect them to do that. But if you really want to go that way and you really, want somebody to give you some true nuggets about how to get started and stay safe in the game, then these are the people that you can talk to here. Do you guys want to add anything?
No, that's I'm inspired. It's preach.
It's amazing to hear yourself from somebody else's perspective.
Yeah, like I just like I'm gonna get.
You mentioned the investors and working with investors, and not people have this idea of what an investor is, but we really, especially Memphis, people in Memphis that they're providing housing for people. They're in many cases going into areas that other people don't want to go into, and working with Memphis Housing Authority and Section 8 vouchers, and all those are great spaces to be in, and you're helping people. I think we have without getting political, I think that I think that our newly elected mayor, I think he has a vision for some things.
He
like
does.
That.
We've been working very closely with him through NARAB to help do some things in terms of that. And he is also someone that isn't down on investors.
Yeah, places like Liberty Park.
Yes.
I got my eye on Liberty Park. And I'm seeing some of those houses like, oh my gosh, something I think for 200 whatever, and just those are areas like that. I think that some of that area, around Stacks.
Yeah.
Some of those areas that have been blighted and
they're coming back.
And they need to.
And they need to.
That's Memphis.
Yes, we need it, and that's our history. And we just have to be able to roll with the changes as they come. We have to be open to evolving, or otherwise we'll die. And I don't care what industry it is. You have to be willing to change and adapt and be open to something new. So hopefully this opens some people's eyes to the world of investing and inspires you. Walter here definitely inspires me. He was just in here a couple of weeks ago and he said, I have my goals down and I want to talk to. I love that kind of stuff. I'm like, when he left, I was like, does he know? Like, that's like my jam.
Yeah.
Have some goals and that's what I live. Yeah. Because if nothing else, I know that he is working and I know that he is serious. So that I could be the same way with him. You know what I mean? And we can grow some stuff together. So with that being said, I would like to thank you guys for sharing with us today.
Thank you.
You are welcome back anytime, Walter. If there is anything you think we need to be discussing, especially as it relates to investors, please let us know, because I definitely want to encourage that kind of activity in the office. I just think we need to be looking at other ways to make money besides helping a retail buyer. There's so many different ways that we can build wealth and help others in the world of real estate, and we just need to do a better job of exposing those ways to people. So thank you so much for that. Thank you, as always, Shanita, for being here and being a voice.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's always got something great to say. I was like, what do you have this morning? She said, absolutely nothing. I'm recording my own videos. I was like, well, excuse me, sister, but she still she still was here and is present. And if you guys want to reach out to Walter and ask him more direct information, his number is on file at the office. Give us a call and we'll make sure to get you guys connected. Right. And so that includes our Friday focus. And until next time, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and make some money.